Hello and welcome to Open Door. My guests today are Bobby and Patricia Scott. They've written this fantastic book. It's called Whole Bean, The Marriage Blend. And I had to hold this up because it's got quite a subtitle
It
to
does.
it. Coffee Conversation Secrets for Maintaining Successfully Thriving and Loving Relationships, which is
Wonderful.
really important these days, you know, because more than 50% of them end up going the other way.
60.
60%.
Yes.
So the number's gone up.
Gone up.
Okay.
But it separates.
Okay.
It's a phenomenon right now called the Great Divorce, which we found out when we were doing our background for the book. Millennials are actually staying married longer, but they're taking longer to get married. But the Great Divorce are in two categories: people over 40 years old and people married over 50 years. The divorce rate has just gone through the roof.
Okay.
It's crazy.
Well, obviously, you must know something because you've written this great book.
Thank you.
And it's like I heard part of the story because a friend of mine did a show with you, and I heard that show. I talked myself out of listening to the whole show because I didn't want to repeat that interview. Okay. So this is going to be my interview of Mr. and Mrs. Scott.
Well, let me give her a plug. She is a friend of ours who went to high school together, Stephanie Phelps, with Another Look.
Yes, with another look at life. Right.
Oh, that's the whole thing?
Well, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yes, she always drops that in there. Another look at life.
Also.
Yeah.
Well,
so
we're glad. Thank you for having us.
okay, so life brought you all together. Tell us the love story of Bobby and Patricia Scott.
I'm going to let Patricia do this, but I've got to say one thing. I watched a couple of your excellent interviews, and I saw that we had so much in common, especially the photography part, because I'm a retired professional, which means I never retire. And I saw that you always wore a top. You always wore a chateau. So I wore this hat for you,
Thank you.
but it's hot, so I'm taking it off.
Okay. All right.
That was in honor of you, my friend, for
Thank
this
you.
interview.
I appreciate it. And it's something that I just recently started doing, you know.
It looks good.
I don't have the courage that you have, you know, because if I had that much courage, my hair would be gone too.
Listen, when I started seeing that male pattern baldness, I told my barber, take it down.
Okay.
It was done.
All right. Well, it may not be long for me either, but we're going to get to you so that you can tell us this fabulous story about how you and this gentleman right here connected.
How we met. Well, I was a senior at John Hay, and he was a junior. I really didn't pay much attention to him.
Varsity cheerleader, senior.
Oh, okay.
That's very important.
Yeah, it's very
Varsity
important.
cheerleader, senior.
Yeah.
Okay? And I was a junior.
Didn't really know him. Saw him at, was it student council meeting? I saw him at Booster Club. He was in the Boosters, but
I ran the booster
I
club.
really didn't pay much attention to him. I saw him in a student council meeting one day, and one thing I did notice was I loved his energy. He had a lot of energy, but that was it. I wasn't looking at guys at the time to date or anything like that. I was a very serious student, so my whole focus was school and college. So we actually met, I guess, I would say,
Tell them how we met and why we met.
well, we actually met because he said I ignored him. And I was walking, cheerleaders used to practice across from the gym, so I was walking back into the gym, and he was standing outside the door, he and his guys, and I really wasn't paying that much attention to them, and he felt like I ignored him because he spoke to me and I didn't speak back. But I didn't hear him. And so he took that as a challenge. And really that's the start of it. He likes challenges, and he felt that he wasn't going to be ignored by me. And so I'll have to say is he pursued me.
Well, see, that's what we used to do
Right.
back in the day.
Back in the day.
Right,
The
right.
fellas were pursuing the ladies, you know, so.
That's what he did. And so he actually got up, he got up the courage to invite me to a party for Halloween. And I said yes. And that was our first date. Actually. It was at a Halloween.
A Halloween party.
Halloween party.
But something happened before the Halloween party. Actually, this is all covered in the book. It's part one is called The Beginning of Us. And our book is a narrative type of situation. I'll get into what we started the book because people were eavesdropping on a coffee conversation we were having at Shaker Square, Arabica in the 80s, right? And what started as an inspiration for the children morphed into this project many years later. That's why at the bottom of the book, Vincent says, "Don't eavesdrop, join us." So the concept here is that as we have these conversations about relationships and marriage, even business relationships, which are very important, all the same type of mobility goes into that whole deal. Don't eavesdrop, join us, because success leaves clues. We've been a couple for over 50 years, which is 608 months. And that's the reason why I counted months starting with her being a senior, and married for 44. So that is the mentoring or the success that leads the clues to, how to do this. How do you have a successfully thriving and loving relationship? But the answers are within us. Your success and your problems and your failures and your achievements, those answers, those solutions are within you. So as we speak with people and people speak with us, we pull out what's already there. Life gets in the way and it gets clouded. But the first time, about a week later, after she did ignore me, I saw her at a party. Back in the day, we had the house parties. And one thing led to another, which is detailed in the book. And when we danced, I orchestrated the dance behind the new Michael Jackson Got to Be There record. And we didn't make it back to the party room. We danced secluded in a hallway. And when we finished dancing, we kissed. And that was my revenge. She knows my name now. So.
Okay.
That is true.
And there's been a lot of kisses since then. The Halloween party was the first date, but it was after the kiss at the party that put us on each other's radar.
Mm-hmm. So the second date, you actually moved in.
The first date was the Halloween party. My friends and I did a Halloween party at the same house. It was a house on Huff with 24 bedrooms. I detail it in the book, but Stephanie Garland's Ferris now had the most popular house party in Glenville, John Hay area. And she let us have a Halloween party there, myself and my two dudes, and I invited her to that party.
Okay.
And that's when I asked her to go with me and be my girlfriend after we secluded ourselves into the sunroom.
So just after 2 encounters,
Yeah.
he asked me to be his
You know what she did? Tell her what you did.
I told him, think about it.
Kiss of death.
I would think about it.
Was that strategic, playing
No,
hard together?
not at all,
Just,
not at
you just
all.
had to think about it.
I was not, like I said, I was a serious student and my focus was school. I just didn't want to spend energy on a relationship at that time.
Or distraction.
So I just felt like I wasn't planning for this, but I guess that's the way love is. You don't sometimes plan on
Oh,
falling
you're
in
trying to
love
say you
with
loved me at first sight?
I'm saying
at
that
the first party?
the fact that I even went, even said yes later meant something, okay? So it was just not planned. It was totally unexpected. And I think because, like I said, his energy was very contagious.
It wasn't a kiss.
No, it wasn't a kiss. Sorry to tell you that, but it wasn't a kiss.
She was probably sapiosexual way back then.
Sapiosexual.
Yeah.
Okay, where's my Google? Let me look, let me look that up.
That means that she was more interested in your intellect than she was the physical aspect of
That's
your
true.
relationship.
That's true.
Yes.
See?
And my dexterity with my hands.
But he is a good kisser, but that was not. That wasn't.
That wasn't
I
it.
was a
That
speed
wasn't
typer. I was the fastest typer in the state of Ohio.
Okay.
95 words per minute on the manual. And that's where she heard about me first, in typing class.
Okay.
I had a rep at the school to type.
Yes.
She thought that was really weird, especially a dude that could type and speed type.
Okay.
But man, talking about getting phone numbers from the. I'm in the typing class. There's like two dudes there, man.
Right.
You know, and I'm just, what's your phone number? I'm just typing and getting the phone number. And they love that.
Yeah, that's kind of like being the only dude in the yoga class.
Back in the day.
Back in the day. Okay, so you said 50 years, and you enumerated the months.
608.
608, and I was already fast forwarded to 609. But I'm just thinking, you said 44 years and 50 years, so it took you 6 years to pop the question?
Yeah. We're going, Lord willing, we will be doing a pop-up coffee conversation in New York City at a coffee shop on our 609th monthly coupleversary in New York City. And we hadn't been to New York City in 48 years. 48 years ago, we made a baby, and I just ain't been back. So we're going back. That's our oldest son, and he was the ring bearer at our wedding. So yeah, she got pregnant, and so we decided to take care of our responsibilities, and so we moved in together. So we understand the cohabitating type of situation. But at some point, it wasn't really moving, and we were having an amicable breakup. About 10 days. He said, basically, you need to make a decision here, bruh. I don't know what your rating is here, but I say it a different way. Or get off the pot. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And one thing led to another. My brother was going to a job in Esfahan, Iran. As a former helicopter mechanic, so they have former Air Force helicopter mechanic. His friends recruited him to the job with Bell Helicopter in Iran, and I was so jealous because he'd already spent 7 years in Japan. He's back here. He was an instructor at Berkeley Lakefront Airport for helicopters. So he gets there in Texas, and he calls me and says, Bobby, I was a semi-pro freelance photographer at the time, going to Cooper School of Art, going to Tri-C. She was, we had a busy schedule. We had a kid. We worked in full-time job, part-time job. We both going to school, and I'm going to art school. He says, they are looking for one more photographer to go to Iran. Are you interested? Man, I was on the next thing smoking. So we get back home. We're still doing our whole breakup thing, which is chronicled in the project. And they called me and offered me the position for 3 years with crazy money. So she was going to New England to go to school and take our son. And I love to drive, still do. So okay, it's what, 12 hours away, something like that. My partner and I, who was the best man at my wedding, our wedding, we used to go to New Orleans to party on the weekend to come back and be at work on Monday. So I was going to go, but all of a sudden I'm going to go overseas. And I'm going to like 7,000 miles away for a job, which means what, vacation? I might get back to see my son, and she was still my bestie, my best friend, every 6 months instead of once a month. So I had a crisis or crises. So I went to see my mentors, and I saw my mentors, and I came back to our apartment and I proposed. And she was so gracious. She didn't want to see any of my little black books because she said, I already know all that stuff. And what day was that?
I don't remember.
Wednesday.
All I know was that 4 days.
We planned the wedding in 4
later,
days.
we got married.
Photographer, caterer, everything. Went to see Rufus and Chaka Khan and Heat Wave at the Front Row Theater after the wedding. And then we're heading overseas for that great adventure. But when we are in New York for the first time, we're going to Carnegie Hall for a jazz concert. Jasmina Horn, we just found out about her.
Yes.
And we were listening to her. Tricia jumped on her phone and checked her concert schedule. She's at Carnegie Hall the day that we arrived as Jeremy, the guy you interviewed earlier, says, he's from New Jersey. He says, oh, you guys are going to Weehawken. That's for you, Jeremy, Weehawken. We're going to the concert. We're going to see Tina on Broadway. And we're doing our first book promotion. So on August the 2nd, we're going to be at a coffee shop in New York, doing the first reading, coffee conversation type of thing. It's going to be on Eventbrite, the whole nine. And so we're just jacked about this. We're excited about this journey that we're on.
Okay.
Yeah.
I gotta get back to that proposal,
Oh,
if you don't mind.
Oh, yeah.
okay.
Okay, because you knew that this was the guy, and then for some reason there was some friction or whatever, and you're saying,
No, we didn't have friction.
well,
Well, it's very amicable.
you
No,
basically,
we really didn't have friction. It was more like it was time to be serious about our future, and so he wasn't ready to be serious.
To get married.
So
that's what I was talking about.
I wasn't ready
I
to get
mean,
married.
be serious.
You gave him something to think about.
Well, I just decided, I had to let him go do what he wanted to do. So, and that was fine with me. We, like he said, we were still friends. I hope that he would do well, whatever he wanted to do, but I was going back to school. I had been out of school for a while, and I was going to finish my degree, and so I was returning to school. And I knew, there was never any doubt in my mind that he loved me. I knew that, but he just wasn't ready yet, and I was, and so it was time for me to move on. And so I wasn't really surprised when he came home and asked me to marry him. Not really, because we still loved each other. I knew that. But it was just it was our time to be serious. We played around at being a couple for a while, and it was time to take that next step. And I always, wish I had known the story of my parents, high school, and their, coming together. I never knew that about my parents. Our parents, back at that time, they didn't tell you as much about their past. And so I wanted my children to know, about us and what it was like for us when we were young. And so it was really important for us in the book. This is really for them. This is for our children. And it was important for them to know how we started. I wish I had known those things about my parents. I didn't. So I'm really grateful that we were able to do that. We were able to come together and sit down and write and leave that for our children.
Yes. So did you ever learn the story about your parents?
Never.
They never told you?
Never. And they're no longer here.
Yeah, they passed.
Okay.
Not that I didn't ask. I
They
did
just
ask.
didn't volunteer it.
No.
Okay.
No. And so
Her parents are quite the couple. They own like one of the most popular speakeasies after hour joints in the city of Cleveland. Moses and Cleopatra Ross. So when I found out her parents' name were Moses and Cleopatra, because she was so fine, I think the blood trickled out of my mouth, because that was such a crack. It was like dozens all day long. Your parents are Moses and Cleopatra? I'm not gonna do it.
But my parents
They
were
awesome, though.
together.
Forever.
Growing up as a kid, I had two parents. They were always together.
So did I.
I didn't experience a single family home, and I'm really grateful for that. And until my dad's passing, my mom and dad held hands, there at his passing.
They did.
And they always were affectionate in front of us. They fought in front of us too, but they were very affectionate with each other. And I really appreciate that my dad showed my mom that kind of love, in their relationship. It was something that I wanted. I wanted to, have the same thing, but I didn't hear those stories. I don't know.
No. And her dad was a master chef at Acacia Country Club. Came up as a porter. He was a master chef. He catered our wedding, And then my mentor, Soleil Reeves, did the photography. Pretty much the creme de la creme wedding photographer. As I told you in preset, he shot with a Hasselblad, the one that NASA took to the moon back in the day, and that's what he taught me. And Reverend Randall E.T. Osborne, who was the head of one of Dr. King's aides and traveled the world with Dick Gregory, officiated our wedding. That's why we got married on a Sunday. We didn't even know the significance of black people getting married on a Sunday. And then coincidentally, we loved the movie Fiddler on the Roof. So Sunrise Sunset was our wedding song. So we got this whole Hebrew, Jewish motif going that we didn't even know. And as a matter of fact, I used to wear a medallion that was the Star of David. And we went to Iran, so I'm in the Sunni Muslim country wearing a Hebrew symbol. We didn't know. It was just so many things came together. And that's how this thing started. When we began extracting our conversations and looking at the secrets for what makes us happen, and there's some things, events that we said we should never do that again. That almost destroyed us. So we would have this thing, we would record it, and then I would, what do you call it, transcribe the manuscript. And that's when the thing began to like evolve to what it is today. And that's our story, and we're sticking with it. So it's written now, so we can't take it back.
I want to get to how the book got off the ground, but I can't overlook the fact that in a very short period of time, you got married, and then
4 days.
4 days, and then you end up on the other side of the world in a place that few of us know anything about.
We didn't know about it.
We didn't.
Yeah, so describe what that experience was like for you.
Oh my.
For me, it was an adventure. It really was. I was excited. I called it my in the book we have
Honeymoon in
part that
Iran.
says honeymoon in Iran, because really that was where we had our honeymoon. We took our son, Dorian, with us, and from the start, I was excited. I always wanted to travel, so I was just excited about going to another country. And so, funny thing is that there was so much that happened on the way to Iran, including an incident at the airport that was not very positive for him. It was a little taboo thing that he did that he didn't know, out of ignorance, but it set him in a place where he really, by the time we landed and got to the hotel.
From Tehran to Esfahan, I was ready to go back home.
He was ready to go back home.
No, I was. When we saw that hotel room, they were putting us up in the hotel room for 45 days. And then we, with that particular contract, we lived anywhere we wanted to in country as long as I got to work. I had to go to the base, and usually I'm in a helicopter doing aerials, and we were over there for a helicopter operating type of thing. The helicopter was stalling because of the dust, so we did a lot of high volume flying on the fleet. So we got to the hotel room, and it's like, which is described in the book, by the way. But we got to the hotel room, and I went, oh no! And I mean, this was the hotel room. Not even this. It wasn't that big. I said, oh no! And I was saying, I'm ready to go. So what happened at the airport? That was the time of happy days with the fawns. Hey, everything was big in America. Hey, anything up, I think it's Italy also. Definitely Italy, and in the Middle East.
In the Middle East.
It's the middle finger.
It's like, yeah.
I didn't know that. So the guys, August, misters, the ones that grabbed our bags from the Tehran airport to get on the shuttle plane and go to Esfahan, they were so like, pop, pop, pop. I went, oh man, hey. It's like I flipped in the bird. Dude, the way they looked at me, like they wanted to kill me. I'm going, I don't know what just happened. And then we get on the plane, and it's a shuttle plane. I got a lady next to me with a sheep. They had livestock on the plane. I've got my bags packed up like this. Her and Dorian, that's our oldest son, was sitting on that side of the plane. And then all of a sudden the crown jewels were on the mountain, and everybody was going, ooh, and I'm going, I can't see nothing. So now I'm threatened. I'm pissed because I can't see anything, the first sights. I'm sitting next to farm animals. We get to the hotel, it's a little dump. So I just said, oh, you know what? We're going back home.
He's ready to go back home, right?
She laughed at me.
Tell him.
She laughed out loud. Talking about, oh my goodness, I'm not going back home.
Nah. But his brother was there.
I called my brother and said, come get us. We're going back home.
He came and he picked us up and took us to the hotel where they were staying. And that's when he fell in love with
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
the sights and the sounds.
I know we gotta wrap up.
You have given us just a taste
Just
of the stories that are in this book. It's called Whole Bean: The Marriage Blend, and I'm gonna give you that subtitle again.
Come on now.
Coffee Conversation: Secrets for Maintaining Successfully Thriving and Loving Relationships. And what I'm seeing right here is a successfully thriving and loving relationship. 50 years, you said 608 months. By the time this airs, it's going to be a few more than that.
Okay.
I want to congratulate you on the success of your relationship
Thank you.
and the success of this book that we're anticipating. We'll just go ahead and call it a bestseller.
Oh.
Thank you. I received that.
Bobby and Patricia Scott, thank you for joining me on Open Door.
Can we
you.
give them the website?
Oh, we're
If
going
you
to
don't
put
mind.
all that up.
Okay.
It's going to
great.
be all
It's right
there, trust me.
Thank you, man.
But
Our
thank you for
director
having
will
us.
see to it that folks know how to get your book.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right.
This
Thank
is
you.
excellent interview. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you for joining us. And thank you for another edition of Open Door. Know yourself, love yourself, be yourself. Make today your absolute best day. Peace.